Is it possible that the thing that most divides our loyalties and passions is what can inspire us all to work together? For centuries, sports has played a major role in defining the civic identity of America. Today, they hold the power and the ability to transform lives.
We're not looking for big league players, we're looking for big league people.
Ask the city of Los Angeles, who invested their profits from the 1984 Olympic Games in youth sports programs in the inner cities. Two sisters from Compton picked up a tennis racket. The rest is history. Sports allow an inspirational moment.
Oh wow, what a moment.
To ignite a battle to find a cure.
We have raised a little over $3 million.
They provide life lessons and hope, and the benefits of working together for the greater good. Most of all, sports are one of the few remaining methods we have to reach at-risk youth for positive social change. That is the power of sports.
Welcome to the Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001. I'm your host, Rick Horrow. Behind me, Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But this show is not just about the Crimson Tide. In this episode, we're highlighting teams, coaches, and departments from college programs all over the country. From coast to coast, collegiate teams in both small towns and huge cities have some remarkable community programs that are having a dramatic impact. We'll profile some of these programs, and we also have an incredible lineup of guests that includes some of the greatest coaches in the history of college football. Usually on the Power of Sports, we take a trip around town to see the pulse of teams in the local area. But this month, we're going nationwide in a segment we call College Football USA City Pulse. Early last summer, football players from Texas A&M and Oklahoma joined other student athletes in a one-week trip to serve children in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The group spoke to children across Haiti and helped build basketball courts, plant trees, and paint houses. For the Sooners, it was their 8th annual mission trip to the country. For the Aggies, 67 student athletes took the trip, which represented 10% of the student athletes at A&M.
Different teams have different things to do. Some are making pathways to get to a certain place. Some are planting trees, and some are even painting schools.
Just seeing the joy in these kids, that's the biggest thing. That's the reason that I come back every single time, is those kids.
For the 10th consecutive year, the Auburn football team took part in Tigers Give Back Day across the city of Auburn. Teams and athletes spread out to multiple locations to serve people and organizations in need.
To get out and see Auburn fans and be at a place, a hospital, try to give a little encouragement, try to get a little hope. I know it's really good for our players, seeing their faces and the influence they can make on people.
The Illinois football team raised $32,000 in their 7th annual event, which raises money for people with rare diseases. The cause is in honor of former offensive lineman Andrew Carter, who was diagnosed with a rare disease in 2011. Players go head-to-head in strongman events, with people pledging money on their success. That's a great profile of student athletes across the country who are having a profound impact in their communities. When we come back, we'll interview one of the greatest coaches ever to roam a college football sideline, one who should be equally known for his efforts off the field. Crimson Tide head coach Nick Saban is next on Power of Sports. The Walk of Champions outside Bryant-Denny Stadium includes one statue for every coach to lead the Crimson Tide to a national title. Nick Saban, the most recent addition, was added in 2011. And while this tribute to Saban might be most directly tied to his on-field accomplishments with the Tide, he and his wife Terry are also known for their tremendous accomplishments off the field, here and wherever else he's coached. That deserves to be equally celebrated as well. We were lucky enough to sit down with a 6-time national championship coach and talk about a career dedicated to giving back. So Pop Warner football was a big part of your dad's life. Tell us what you remember about growing up in West Virginia and being your dad's son, basically.
Yeah, well, you know, I had great parents. I was very fortunate, but anyone out there that their dad has been their coach, you know, that's an experience in and of itself. But my dad actually started Pop Warner football in our area in West Virginia. And it was a difficult area because we had like 7 coal mining towns that were up in hollows, and the players had a hard, they couldn't get to practice because we all got around hitchhiking, you know, I mean, and if the shift didn't change, there wasn't much traffic. So a lot of them didn't play sports. They didn't have the opportunity to get some of the lessons, life lessons that you can learn from playing sports. So my dad bought this little orange school bus. It had all these quotes like, it's, you know, things that would help you be successful, like it's more important to be nice than it is to be important, you know, things like that. He would go pick up everybody in all these hollows, take them to practice. We would practice, you know, take everybody home, take about 45 minutes. And of course I was the first one on the bus and the last one off because that was home, that was the home stop. But he really taught us the importance of work ethic, investing in your time and something rather than spending it. You reap what you sow, perseverance, and how you have to continue to learn from your failings, how to overcome adversity, you know, discipline to do things right. I mean, the old saying that I say all the time, you're going to suffer through one of 2 things in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment. That was on the bus. It was there. All right, so all these things go way back. Yeah. But the opportunities that created, I mean, I know he had, not outside of myself, 3 players that, you know, made All-American at West Virginia University and graduated from college and had a lot better lives, and they may never have participated if it wasn't for that. And I'm sure that if you ask any of them, they would say, just like me, that a lot of those things that I learned playing, the value of athletics is really, really important to developing a lot of the characteristics that help you be successful in life. I mean, all kinds of things as a competitor that makes you have a much better chance to be successful in life.
And the first scholarship that Pop Warner ever named after a person specifically was Nick Saban's scholarship, and it's not you, it's your dad.
It's my dad.
How does it make you feel?
That's great. It makes me feel great because it's all a part of his legacy. You know, it's all the things that was important to him, and I hope that, you know, people appreciate and remember that.
Let's talk about the better way off the field, the Nick's Kids Foundation, what you've done with Terry as far as some of the issues, not only the capital improvements, but the tornado relief in Tuscaloosa. Talk about all of that from your perspective.
Well, you know, that goes back to my dad too, because he didn't just pick these kids up in that bus and take them to practice. You know, he sort of adopted them all. So when their basketball blew up, he took them to town and got them another one. When the rim at the church wasn't shootable anymore, he got him a new one. My mom always said, if you ever have the opportunity, you know, your dad's legacy was to help young people. You know, do something to do that. So Nick's Kids stands for Big Nick, not Little Nick. I'm Little Nick. Miss Terry and the people who support Nick's Kids have done a phenomenal job of, I think, being able to create a lot of positive things in our community. You know, we've done the 17 for 17, which is 17 homes that we've rebuilt since the tornado for every national championship, and our players have contributed to each one of those homes. You know, we have player days where they come and work, and they give back to the community as well. We've given over $7 million to children's organizations in the Southeast over the last, 10 years. All these things give us tremendous positive self-gratification by giving back, helping other people. Don't really feel much that we do that makes us feel better than when we help someone else. And you know, my dad's old saying was, "No man stands as tall as when he stoops to help a child." So that's what we tried to carry on, and we're going to try to continue that in the future, and we certainly thank all the people who have supported Nick's Kids.
Well, as you continue to go through the maelstrom of college football as it evolves, you don't need me or anybody else to say this, but just stay the way you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Foster Auditorium, historic site of one of the most dramatic standoffs in the fight for racial equality, right here on Alabama's campus. The nearby plaza honors Vivian Malone Jones and James Hood, the first two African American students to enroll at the University of Alabama in 1963. It was a transformative moment in the fight for desegregation in the South. Transforming lives is the stated mission of the Teammates Mentoring Program, which has impacted thousands of youth across the Midwest. It all started with the vision of a legendary football coach and his wife in 1991, who saw one-on-one mentoring as a key element to allow kids to reach their full potential.
I came home from football practice one day in 1991. My wife Nancy had watched a segment of 60 Minutes, which was devoted to a gentleman named Eugene Lang, who had gone back to visit his middle school. And the principal told him that maybe one child from that graduating class would possibly go to college. And that really struck him, and so he told the kids that if they stay out of trouble and graduate from high school, he would pay their way to college. So Nancy said, "Is there something like that that we could do?" And I said, "Well, Nancy, I'm not quite ready to put an elementary school through college at this point." So I got in front of our football team the next day, and I asked the players, I said, "How many of you guys would be willing to serve as a mentor to a 7th or 8th grade boy in Lincoln Public Schools?" And 22 hands went up. And so we paired them up, and we just said, spend some time with them every week, once a week. Played itself out, and these kids got to be seniors in high school, and of the 22, 21 graduated on time, 18 went on to college. And from that population, that was very surprising. And so we thought, well, maybe there's something to this. So then we expanded it, first here in Lincoln, Nebraska, using adults. We didn't have enough players to expand it. So today we're currently mentoring very close to 9,000 young people in 161 school districts all across Nebraska, into Iowa pretty heavily, and then starting in Kansas, Wyoming, and South Dakota.
I was looking for someone I could trust, open up to, and really just a friend that I could have and see once a week and just be able to talk and hang out and know that I had an amazing support system at all times. A lot of kids at school and even in our community don't always know what a good and healthy adult relationship is, and Teammates allows kids just like me to be able to have a healthy adult relationship that's filled with support, love, and just trying to lead me on the right path.
One of my favorite things about being with Haley the last 5 years is how much she has changed. So the 8th grade Haley was very shy. She was not very confident. She was really struggling with some personal issues with her family, and just really needed someone to listen to her and to help her build up the confidence that she needed. Each kid needs that consistent adult in their life to listen and to help them through some of the tough times and then to celebrate the great times with them. And it's a really easy way to make a big difference.
We have mentors that are 18, 19 years old that are high school graduates, but we have a lot of them that are in their 70s and 80s, and our average mentor is a professional person, probably in their 40s. And most of our mentoring occurs it's in the schools, and so in about 80 to 85% of our matches, attendance improves, and with that grades improve, graduation rates improve significantly, less classroom disruption, less substance abuse, less teenage pregnancy, less gang membership, less criminal activity. And then we also found something we had not expected, and that was that kids that had a mentor have a lot more hope in their life. The mentor can show them how their life doesn't have to be on the same path. Hope is very powerful when you don't have it. When you do have hope, then things begin to open up. If someone wants to leave a legacy, we often think that you have to accumulate wealth, but simply by investing in another person, who in turn will invest in other people, you will begin to start a ripple that will go on down through several generations. And we think that ripple effect is very powerful.
A 2014 report said just 1 in 3 kids aged 8 to 18 had a significant mentor in their life. Teammates is reducing that ratio child by child as they continue to grow and expand in other states. Up next on Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001, we'll update you on Fields and Future's work in Oklahoma City. The Quad is the heart of Alabama's campus and the location of the first on-campus Crimson Tide football game in 1893. It's now the center spot of social activity of college football Saturdays in Tuscaloosa. Fields and sports brings communities together, which is why Fields and Futures in Oklahoma City have rebuilt 22 fields in the state's largest school district. These athletic facilities in Oklahoma City public schools do more than just change the way the game is played. They change the lives of the students taking part. When students at multiple schools are impacted, an entire city can be transformed. Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt has seen this change take place in his city and credits the transformation to Fields and Futures and the incredible power of sports.
People who grow up in different parts of Oklahoma City don't have the same parental involvement. They don't have the same mentors and adult leadership in their life.
I had 28 suspensions, over 100 days out of school.
Like, oh, you gotta watch out for Big Horse. Don't mess with her.
I was gangbanging since I was in the 8th grade.
They don't have the love at home. They don't have the family. They don't have the camaraderie. They're gonna go find it.
Some kids, they'll join gangs because that's what they can rely on.
So when I would get suspended from school and I couldn't play football, I couldn't put my anger out there on the field.
School sports and fields to play them on gives these kids an identity. These may or may not be professional baseball players one day, but more realistically, they're getting a structure and cause to rally around that I think helps them in all aspects of their life. And most importantly, in making sure that they stay on a good path. Sports can play an important role there.
I used to play on dirt. Nothing but dirt, sand, broken beer bottles. And to go back the next year, and you're playing on a whole grass field, it changes you emotionally.
It began to instill a sense of pride back in our students that begins to bleed over into other characteristics of their life.
You're more likely to graduate, you're more likely to have a positive identity about yourself and your community.
I never had somebody to show me how to be a man, and he's showing me how to be a man.
Whenever the gun popped, we started racing. I just felt it was life. I was just so happy.
It lets you experience a family bond that not a lot of other kids get.
Those who have been blessed have an obligation to help everyone else. Fortunately, here in Oklahoma City, we have a great reputation for that kind of generosity, and it's just continuing with Fields and Futures.
Fields and Futures, an incredible organization providing remarkable work for the kids in Oklahoma City, and much more ahead. When we come back, we'll run through our social spotlight, this month with a college football slant. Every month on Power of Sports, we look for the best examples of sports and philanthropy in social media to feature on the show. This month, we'll do the same, but with a focus on just college football. Dwayne Taylor has more.
Thanks, Rick. After Marshalltown, Iowa was devastated by a tornado that damaged 800 buildings and destroyed 89 homes, the community was desperate for any help it could get. One day after the disaster, Iowa State running back David Montgomery tweeted out that he was honored to go to Marshalltown and help clean up. But the next day, it wasn't just Montgomery that made the 40-mile trip to Marshalltown, but the entire Cyclone football team. Photos popped up all over social media of residents' appreciation for the players' efforts in helping with the cleanup. The idea to make the trip didn't come from the coaches, but from players on the senior leadership team, who said it fit one of their team mottos: give more of yourself than you take from the whole. If you need some daily inspiration sprinkled with a little humor this upcoming season, the Twitter account of a former Tennessee Volunteer might be just what you need. In 2006, defensive back and projected first-round NFL draft pick Inky Johnson suffered an injury late in the game that resulted in his right arm becoming permanently paralyzed. A promising football career was over, but Inky went on to get a master's in sports psychology, becoming a motivational speaker and author. He regularly posts clips of his amazing talks on his Twitter account @InkyJohnson. It might be the perfect reference for a little perspective this fall as we worry about the highs and lows of our favorite teams. That's all for our college football edition of Social Spotlight. Back to Rick in Bama.
That wraps up Power of Sports this month from Tuscaloosa. Thanks to our amazing guests from coast to coast. I'm Rick Horrow. Thanks for joining us again on Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001.